Okay, welcome to the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Dahlin. Today we have the general manager of Mölndal Hockey outside of Gothenburg, Marcus Eliason. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit offline and had a little problems here with the mic and everything. We got it going. So I'm looking at hopefully my battery doesn't die. If it is, we're going to have to hit play again, but
yeah,
I'm waiting for a new computer. Anyway, so a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. We want to talk about your background, young general manager for a pretty established club with a long, for those who know hockey in the Gothenburg, Sweden region, they know about Mölndal, and we'll talk about the different levels. But I want to talk about your background as a player, hockey gymnasium first, and then we can go into kind of your role as a general manager and what does that mean and how does that work as well. So let's first of all explain Mölndal for those who don't know where Mölndal is.
Mölndal is located just south of Gothenburg, barely 10 minutes away. We play for the men's team. We play in the Division Two league, Southern District, and we have a lot of teams are surrounding the Gothenburg area. The team or the organization got kind of restructured a couple years ago and started over in Division Three. Right away, they played with their junior 20 team in the for the men's league, and they qualified for the Division Two right away. I think this is the 2017-2018 year or season. And since then, we've been playing in the Division Two division. So Division Two. The Junior 20 has been established in the Junior 20 Elite or now Junior 20 Region division for a lot of years now. I don't even know how long, but around the 10-year mark or even longer maybe, and has always been, or for a long time been, a top tier league or top tier team in that division. Now it's been kind of on a downhill slope here for a couple of years, and I hope I can turn that around for sure. And that's why I joined in my role last year, which wasn't as a general manager, but kind of as a sport council role, working with the junior 20 team.
So back up a little bit because you're from Gothenburg originally.
Yeah, from Lerum, which is just 15 minutes away from Gothenburg, where John Klingberg, Lou Eriksson, for those who know those people, played in the NHL or playing in the NHL right now.
But you didn't stay there for hockey gymnasium. So talk about, because you went to Borås, also kind of a similar organization like Mölndal, right?
No, has had I mean more recent success, I guess, playing in the Hockeyallsvenskan. A couple years ago, got deregulated down to Division One, been down even in Division Three, and then turned it back around, and now they're in Division One. Has a junior 20 team, which is in the same league as us, and now they have a junior 18 team that's in the same division as our 18 team as well.
Yeah. So how was it back then? So let me back up. Did you play in the TV puck tournament?
I did not.
Yeah.
No.
So we're we're recording this and this is going to be released a little bit later, but so we just finished a couple of weeks ago in the TV puck tournament, and then so Gothenburg has his own team and not part of the parish of Östergötland. But so how was it for you then, not making the TV puck tournament and then looking at what were your options in hockey gymnasium at that time? So who was the big clubs then? I'm sure Frölunda was still kind of the big one, right?
I mean, yeah, and I mean, mostly I was looking into the most southern teams. You have HV71, Linköping, Rögle, Malmö, Borås, obviously. Nässjö was one of the teams. It's just out of Jönköping, where HV71 is playing. But I applied for Borås. I was there on a tryout. It went well, and they told me they wanted me. I was there once. It was a bigger tryout. I think we had there was two full teams of three lines on both teams that were playing, just a scrimmage against each other for 2 hours, I think, and it went pretty well for me. And uh, they not right away, but they called me and said that they wanted me to join their team for next season when I started high school. And the thing with this is that I was there. They wanted me to come one more time, but I hurt my knee playing a district championship game, and I wasn't able to. This was in December, mid-December, so I wasn't able to finish the rest of the season even. But they still wanted me to come join the team for next year, which I did. So I was a bit lucky, I guess. But it was a great experience going to Borås and playing there.
Yeah. So how far is that from Gothenburg?
45 minutes.
Okay.
Uh,
But was that the first time that you kind of moved away from home and then?
yeah. I mean, I moved away. Moved in with a friend. We met up at a just a hockey school up in Fiskens Hockeyskola up
Oh,
in
in
Furudal.
Ore.
Yeah. Ore. Yeah, exactly. So
That
we
was
were
good.
up there. We met when we were about 11 years old. We stayed in touch and hung out quite a bit. He was from Lysekil, which is about an hour and away from hour and a half away from Gothenburg. He also got into Borås hockey, the hockey gymnasium there. So we moved in together, at least the first year. Then I got my own place. So we lived by ourselves, and all the other guys that came, a lot of the guys, most of them came from Gothenburg. We lived alone, which was definitely a transitional period for the first 6 years or 6 months, before you kind of got into the whole thing of living alone, having that like a 16-year-old with that amount of freedom, not a parent looking over your shoulder telling you what to do, doing your homework while practicing. You have to cook food, do your laundry. Uh, those are those are big things for a 16-year-old, and definitely probably not something that every 16-year-old has to do if they live at home with their parents at
Yeah.
that age.
Yeah. What was your so what was your what degree or what area of study did you what was your concentration in high school?
My concentration was law, which is still an area which I have this dream kind of in the back of my head to get a law degree. I still want to do it, but I don't want to commit to doing in Sweden a 4.5 year period of schooling, another 4.5 years of schooling. So, which I guess sounds kind of fair, but I still have it as a dream, and I want to do it, but not right now.
Yeah. But I mean, was that a little bit so how many of your teammates did that versus the easy vocational route?
In my school, we didn't have that many different programs. You could do business or economics, you could do law, you could do kind of like an engineering program or technique, which is what we
Yeah.
call it, but engineering, and then barn och fritid, which is more towards maybe if you want to be like, I don't know if you like teaching a police officer, maybe firefighter, but it's a more practical
Yeah.
area of like program,
Yeah,
compared to
just
the other ones, which is preparing you for the that higher education programs that you need. Yeah.
yeah, I just listened to a podcast. I wish I would have it was in one of my just in the pipeline of what I listened to, but it was a they interviewed the guy from the Swedish Hockey Federation that is in charge of hockey gymnasiums all over the
Mhm.
country. And I can't find it here now, but they were actually talking about for the NIUs that they were supposed to have at least 3 college preparatory programs and 1 vocational preparatory programs
Mhm.
to offer. A lot of them have more than that, but I when I went a year in kind of the vocational route, and then I realized what am I doing, and then I went to kind of the techness is what I did for a year, and
Yeah.
then I left to go to the U.S. Um, but I mean, the reason I bring that up is not everybody goes, and it was a big deal as a pivotal thing that you chose that part, even though you're kind of there. I'm assuming you're there to play hockey in your mind, right?
Yeah,
You
definitely.
weren't
I
you
mean,
weren't thinking about law at the time. You were thinking about hockey.
no, no, not really. I think it was mostly to skip out on the third math class you had to take if you did the economics concentration instead of the law concentration.
Yeah.
So I did philosophy and psychology instead, I think. Um,
But you played there for 3 years. Why not four?
I mean the junior system works. I mean it's I don't know why it is this way, but you graduate high school after 3 years, and then you still have one more year of junior hockey to play in Sweden before you're a senior or like yeah you're not a junior player anymore. Which is something I think more schools should probably look into, maybe extending that program when they go to school just to kind of ease off on like the tougher periods in school so they can still have a success in like in the sports
Yeah.
that they're doing because it's not just hockey, of course. It's soccer or I mean hockey, golf, track and field, cheerleading.
Yeah.
I don't know how many different sports there are.
But I mean, so you went there 3 years, and then what was you could have stayed in Borås.
Yeah, I think it was
You
even
played
offered
J18.
a contract. I think it was even offered a contract with the men's team by the coach. He wanted me to stay, but I think I came across an opportunity when I was at one of my teammates' house that lived in Borås. It had Blue Chip Hockey had a kind of a flyer that they sent out, and on it said like come to this hockey showcase, and they had like American coaches that came to Sweden out on Hönö or Öckerö and did a full weekend tryout, I guess, in during the summer. So I went to that, I think, at the beginning of my second year in Borås. But I didn't commit to going to college for a full year. So that kind of put that on a shelf somewhere and kind of revisited it when I started my senior year of high school. And I was kind of in between. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I wanted to continue my education. I wanted to continue to play hockey. And in Sweden, you have kind of it's you can do both at the same time but when push comes to shove, then it's still school that's your primary focus. And I wanted to do both. So let's say you have a test and the school says, well, you need to take this test, but I had to go and play a hockey game. Well, then school would have to be what I had to go and do, and I didn't want that. So, uh, going over to play college hockey, I mean, I think every like kid in Sweden, maybe not everybody, but at least a lot of them want to go over to the U.S. and play hockey in one way or another.
So
And
this was in the time of 2014, 2015. So not
yeah,
too far removed from. It's not too long ago, but it's not yesterday. But so at the time you're eight. No, you would have been 19 or 20, right?
yeah,
19.
when I started college, I was 19, but I think when I came across this opportunity to go in the showcase, I was 17, I think.
So what? Let me
Yeah.
ask you because I had similar parallel here because I sort of did the same thing. I came across mine was a lot longer ago, longer since I went through it, but it was like a trifold. But mine was about going going over to the U.S. to be a high school student as an exchange student. That's how
Yeah.
I. But what was your conversation with your parents, who I'm sure wanted you to have an education? Um, so, um, what was that conversation like?
It was never really I don't think I really had to do that much convincing talking to my mom. I've so it wasn't that big of an issue really. I have lived alone for the past 3 years, and I mean, I guess first of all kind of a grown up at least when you're 18, 19 years old, and I wanted to go over to the US. She's always encouraged me to make my own decisions, and if she wouldn't feel that I was mature enough to make this decision and go to the US, she wouldn't have let me, but she supported me all the way. Drove me halfway around the southern parts of Sweden to take different tests and the ACTs and SAT tests and everything you had to do before you went over. So it wasn't really that much convincing to do on my end
Yeah.
at least.
And if you don't mind, you may want to mention too that you told me offline. I didn't know this, but that you lost your dad in early age, right? So a little
Yeah,
bit
he
different.
passed away in cancer 2007. So
Yeah. So you
yeah.
had you've kind of had to grow up a little bit as well.
Yeah, and that kind of, in a way, I mean, it makes you grow up a lot faster. Having a parent passing away when you're 11 years old. So I think it was relatively mature, even when I moved away to Borås, even though we have a lot to learn. But making the step, moving over to the US it wasn't a big deal really, for me at least.
Yeah. I think it's interesting how these type of things, I mean, life shapes you, uh,
Mhm.
especially at a young age, and the experiences that you have. That's what I think is so important about, gymnasium in Sweden is a pivotal time of a young man's life, and the ability to it's a time to really expand and leverage and prepare you for the next steps in your life. And there's some that choose not to expand very much, and then it's harder to grow as an adult versus the kids. And I think that's what's unique about sports, just like what you did, is you moved away, create new friendships, new environments, new coaches, and you have to learn all the things outside of the hockey, that the next thing that you tackle, which I think, so we'll go into that next. So you ended up going to play 4 years at ACHA college club program in the US. You know, when it comes to kind of the steps in life, it prepares you to be able to excel in those things
Yeah.
versus someone that is living at home all their life, and it's,
Mhm.
someone is cooking and cleaning and doing your laundry. It's a bigger transition as well. So
Yep.
you went through blue chip. So after you were done, you're sitting there and you're wondering, do I play another year of J20, maybe playing with men's in, so Borås, what division were they in at the time with the men's team?
Division two.
Okay. Which is not a bad hockey. I mean, it's not
No, definitely not. It's they have a lot of experienced players when you play in that league, and it's really good hockey.
yeah.
And
But if you're thinking about, you've now done 3 years, you got a degree, and you want to keep on, and you want to get, where did academics go into this at that time? When you're thinking about, do I go play semi-professionally in Division 2, but am I, how do you make the choice here about going to university in Sweden? Did you think about that at the time?
um, I don't really remember how my mind went about it, but coming across this flyer on my friend's desk, I just knew that like this would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it was something that I also wanted to do alone. I didn't want to go over with like having a secure group of friends that I went over with or together with, and we kind of hung out just us, and then like it would still be this Swedish bubble. But I went all alone, went to a city or a country that I've never been in before, to a city that I've definitely never heard of before, and just I started fresh, which was not that I needed the fresh start really, but it was still it was something really uh, something that I needed to do.
Talk about the financial aspects of that, because all right, did you know right away, hey, you got this thing called tuition that you got to pay for?
Yeah, I knew about tuition, and that was definitely one of the factors, kind of why I chose to play at a CMU or Colorado Mesa, which is located in Grand Junction, just on kind of the border between Colorado and Utah on the western slope. So that was always a factor. Club hockey obviously doesn't offer the like athletic scholarships to go over and play hockey. So that was definitely still something I had to consider. And we have a good system in Sweden where you can apply for financial aid through CSN, and that's the way I went.
Yep. I did the same thing. But so explain to those, primarily the Swedish listeners, what's the difference between NCAA and ACHA? Because I'm sure that in the beginning you were thinking, oh, college, and what's now the different levels of college and the different levels of competition there.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I guess this is a full podcast episode for sure. But yeah, you have NCAA. If you talk about just sports in general, there's the NCAA Division One, Two, and Three. Hockey, except for a couple schools out on the East Coast, only has it only has Division One and Division Three. You can get an athletic scholarship if you play Division One, but you can't get a scholarship or athletic scholarship if you play Division Three. You can only get scholarships for your academics in Division Three. Um, that's a big difference. Going down an even further level, you have the ACHA, not the NCAA, but the ACHA, which is yeah, club hockey. The level itself doesn't have to be bad, and the level that I played, it was all right. It wasn't the best, but it was all right. Some teams were not that good, but the top teams, as in every league you play in, they were really good. And they have a lot of good players from all over the country. Obviously, maybe they moved back to their hometown and play for their local college that didn't have a like an NCAA program, so they ended up playing for their club sports,
Yeah.
which is pretty much. I mean, it's pay to play. You
Yeah.
have to pay a member's fee. Some schools are $5,000 a year. I think mine was $500 a year, which was nothing. And we got great support from the school, and I think we were the fifth most watched sport like on campus after baseball, American football, and then women and men's basketball, and then it was hockey. So
Yeah.
we had an off ice rink. It took I think the capacity was just over 1,000 people, and I think we averaged between 700 and 900 people per game. And being in a small barn with a lot of people is a lot better than being in a big barn with less people.
Yeah.
So I would much rather have 400 people in that barn than having it in a larger arena. Let's see, in Sweden right now, where in Mölndal, we have a capacity for 1,000 people, but it's a bigger rink. But like so 400 people feels like a lot less people, but
Yeah.
they're kind of like close knit. You come very close to the glass to where everything happens, which makes it a lot of fun.
But I think one thing to be mentioning that is the difference between ACHA and NCAA. Yeah, there is different levels. There's definitely, if you go play club hockey, you're not necessarily going to play in the NHL. But if you're playing at Michigan or Boston College and North Dakota,
Mhm.
those guys are going to go play in the NHL. I get it. But
Yeah.
but I think that from a standpoint of the experience, and the other part about ACHA is that they can be a lot more flexible when it comes to scholarships from a financial aid standpoint. So for the Swedish person, something to be thinking about, just like what you did, you have the background from your financial aid through CSN, which is the government part. You can take loans and aid, but then you can also get academic or other types of scholarships, and the ACHA schools, and especially you got D1, D2, D3, and the D1 schools, like Adrian, Liberty University. Those guys are rival or beat out NCAA D3 programs. So there's a lot of flexibility, lots of options, and it's worthwhile spending some time learning about those things. But okay, you're there really for the experience. You're not necessarily, your goal is not to make the NHL. You're there to have fun. And
Yeah,
like,
I mean it's definitely started off as being like it was more focused on the hockey part like the hockey part of it the first semester, I would say. Slowly from there, kind of shifted into being more focused on the academics, just because of the success that I had in school.
Yeah. So how prepared were you? I remember my freshman year, it was not easy. Even though I've been in the US for a year in high school, it was a completely different thing going into. I went to a pretty big school, you did too, but you go into, and I remember my freshman biology class, and it was 350 people in the auditorium. And the instruction was different, the way I had to learn was different. um, and then I figured it out and did really well. How was it for you to transition to that?
Uh, for me, it all kind of made more sense in English some way. Like I struggled with math in high school, and in college it was super easy. Maybe it was because I spent way more time at it, but like it all, like everything just made more sense to me some way. I can't really explain that, but uh I just had a good kind of I came into a pretty good flow with the whole thing. I mean, one thing that's different between college in the US and college or in Sweden is that it's more kind of a high school structure in terms of kind of how you do your classes. So in college, you do 5 classes per semester for 8 semesters, and then you graduate. Like if you kind of like break it down. In college or in Sweden though, you do one class for 5 or 6 weeks. You read a full book. You have to learn it. Then you have one test, and then you move on.
Yeah.
There you have maybe you do like the first 4 chapters after the 5 weeks, and then you have the next chapters, and then the next chapters, and then you break the whole thing down, but you do it 5 classes at a time. So it was a system that kind of it worked well for me. I don't
Yeah.
think the cramming kind of structure that they have back here in Sweden would work the same way for me or work as well for me. But I liked it
Yeah.
the way it was over there.
So you were there for 4 years.
Mhm.
You graduated then with a degree in business administration, which puts you in a so you have a 4 year degree. I mean, in reality, it's a bachelor's degree, and it's how long
Mhm.
would it take you? So it took you 4 years in the US.
Yeah.
Uh, could you have done that same program, or how do you compare the two degrees? I mean, it takes if you went 4 years in Sweden, I
Mhm.
don't know. It just seems like it's more intense. If you went 4 years, you got the equivalent of a master's degree in Sweden, or 4.5 years. If you
Yeah,
were
yeah.
if you were to kind of like succeed and make every class and not fail anything,
Mhm.
but there's just not that many programs over there. Anybody can go and get a 4 year degree, right? But I don't know. How do you compare the two degrees?
It's really difficult. I started looking into it, I think when I graduated in 2019, coming back home, kind of like where where does this stand compared uh, to a Swedish like graduate? And but I kind of quickly kind of shifted away from having that focus or that thought in my head because I thought, okay, let's say you have 10 people applying for a job. 9 of those people, I'm the 10th person, 9 of those people went to one of maybe 3 schools. They have kind of like just about the same experience from the same teachers, from the same lectures, from the same books. And then the people that work at the company they are applying for, they also come from the same schools with the same teachers, with the same books and the same lectures.
Yeah.
So then I come from as that 10th person adding maybe a different perspective uh, and having a bit of a different background and bringing something new to the company. That's kind of how I looked at it. And I've been at the same company for the past almost 4.5 years now since I graduated, and have I've had a couple different roles within my company since then. Um, I don't know if it's a good or a bad. So I don't really know if it's a good or a bad thing. It's obviously always up to how you perform at the company they're at. But I've had great success, at least from where I am right now.
Yeah, and I think that isn't that kind of I'm glad you bring that up. The life experience, isn't that really what college, to me, gone through college here. I mean, when you're finished with college, it wasn't so much about what did you learn in your classes, but it's really after 4 years, you're now prepared as a person much better than other things.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, yes, when you go out on the professional side, sure, you got this degree in the back pocket that leverage you to now enable you to apply for different jobs, but it's really the experience or how you grew as a person that matters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, let's fast forward a little bit because you were you thinking at all about staying in the U.S.?
I The thing is, I was after 3 years, I was pretty done with my experience, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a smaller city, and I mean, I was started thinking if I had gone to a Swedish university right now, then I would have graduated already. I could have started working. Uh, so I kind of so my fourth year, it was a lot of fun, and I wouldn't like if I had to do it again, I would do it 10 out of 10 times, but it was still like it was just like I just had to get through it.
Yeah.
That was just really my goal with the fourth year. Um,
And then you went home.
and
Then you
yeah,
went home.
then went home. I played with played. I started playing with Mölndal. Started playing with Mölndal for one season. We had pretty good team, and we made it to kind of the pre-qualification rounds, going up to Division One from the Division Two stage. We were eliminated in the second game uh, against Becken, which is a local rival here in Gothenburg, and they still are.
Yeah.
They still are. It's they're
There's no love lost
high.
there, let's face it.
Yeah, and yeah, yeah. Good put. Yeah, well put. And so I think the second game, I think that was this was the spring 2020. So this is just before COVID. But I think it was a 0-0 game, and it was the 96th minute. So we're in the fifth period, minute 16, and they won on a knuckle puck, just
Oh,
like nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, then if we would have won that game, we would have played on Sunday, and then another week went by, and I think they played one more round of the qualification games, going up to Division One, and then everything got canceled because of COVID anyway. So like obviously it was a lot of fun and a great experience, but we wouldn't have gone further with the whole thing anyways
yeah.
in the end. Yeah.
But then, and then you ended up kind of retiring, right? Or you didn't go
Yeah.
on, but I mean, you're now working full-time job and so on. And then you started working as an assistant coach and kind of got
Yeah.
into this kind of general manager.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I quit. I got an opportunity to be a project manager at the company that I'm at right now, and I was kind of in between. I was standing in the middle, and it was like, okay, I need to commit to my job over here, but I also have my hockey team over here, and since I will be in the middle, I can't commit fully to either one because both take a lot of time, and I didn't really know what my new job position would kind of mean in terms of time. And uh, so so I so I decided that okay, I can't do hockey the way I want to do it, which meant that I had to choose the thing that put bread on the table, basically. So I decided to focus on my career instead of
Yeah.
hockey. Came back to hockey that same fall as a video coach for the men's team before COVID kind of canceled everything out that season. And then I got asked to be the assistant coach for the junior 20 team for 1 year. And then quit again, and then got asked in the beginning of last season if I wanted to continue doing this sports director role for this year.
So, and I know we've talked a lot of time, but I would like to go in and talk about
Mhm.
that. What does that mean? And for a club in Sweden, so Mölndal,
Mhm.
who has a Division two men's team. You have a J20 region, which is you have the only thing about that is going to be J20 national, and then you
Yeah.
have J18 in Division one, right?
Yeah.
Which means you have one above it with J20 J18 region, and then you got youth underneath, and then there's
Yeah.
6 or 8 clubs in Gothenburg region that are uh, Handhalsbäcken, Frölunda, Kungälv.
Mölndal, Kungälv, yeah. Partille, Lerum.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple teams, yeah.
And some that are, in Gothenburg, you have the top club like Gothenburg, and I think there's only one. Yeah. And then you got the next level down. And then, so you have these different regions, but different levels within a big geographical area.
Yeah.
But how is it to run? I mean, now you're as a GM, you're running. Are you responsible for you're responsible? You're not responsible for recruiting sponsors to the organization, right?
I mean, no, not really, but obviously being a smaller organization, you you get to be part of everything, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well,
I'm also on the board of directors, in like a smaller role, but it's really because I'm there every time anyways to presenting the like the sports operational side of about the whole operations. So I was asked to be part of that, so I'm also part of that, but it doesn't take that much extra time.
yeah, but you basically have a side that is running the organization from the organization side, and then you're running the hockey operations side for the
Yep.
men's team and the juniors. So
Yeah.
you have a budget to
Right.
work with, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you guys, so for Mölndal,
Hmm.
for the juniors, let's talk about the juniors, because the seniors is a completely different thing. But since you come through the junior ranks, you know, if you compare it to the American listener or them, running the junior program over here. So do you have support from the Swedish Hockey Federation at all financially currently?
There are the Hockey Federation supports you in in different ways. It could be through like financial support through giving coaches education, referees education, taking like referee courses or coaching classes or whatever it might be. We have a pretty strict system regarding
But
the
there's no
qualifications.
there's no like stipend from the Swedish Hockey Federation that goes in your budget that you can buy sticks
No,
with
no,
or
no,
pay the power bill. So how do you
no.
who pays for the ice as an example? Here in the US, ice is super expensive, but who owns the rink and who pays for the ice?
The city of Mölndal own the hockey rink, Åby Arena.
Yeah.
And we rent our locker rooms, we rent the ice time, and everything surrounding our organization. So
Yeah.
they paid for the building, and now we rent to be in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Has the cost, because of the energy crisis in Sweden, and don't get me started on that. But anyway, has the cost to rent the facility changed a lot in the last few years since you started versus now?
Uh, I don't know how much it cost when I first started, but I know that well, it's increased for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But you
I don't know how
charge,
many percent the last 3 years, but I mean, electricity is more. So obviously, running a hockey rink where you need to cool down the ice, that gets more expensive. So the city of Mölndal, they increased their cost for it's more expensive for them, so it's more expensive for us.
but what's the difference between, for example, the junior? So Mölndal's J20 versus Frölunda's J20. What's the difference in the budgets?
Ooh, wow. I guess I can't say that for sure, but I know in terms of kind of how you finance the whole operations, uh, is that if you get drafted players from the NHL, from your organization that's been within your organization for the past couple of years. I don't know. I don't remember exactly how many years, but let's say it's 3 years. Then you get a piece of money from the NHL that pay the organization which that player comes from if they sign a contract.
Yeah.
So I know that a lot of the SHL or maybe even Hockeyallsvenskan, they make kind of they make a business out of that
Yep.
in one sense. Um, and that's how they fund their junior organizations.
But what about Mölndal? Not
Uh,
necessarily
yeah,
draft picks are coming
yeah,
directly. Now, I would say Mölndal is a good feeder club to Frölunda, so you may have had a youth player that plays youth hockey in Mölndal, or
yeah,
even U16 goes on to Hockey Gymnasium in Mölndal, and then, or like where you were talking about in Lerum
yeah,
with the guys you mentioned.
yeah.
But you don't have that, you don't get that funds in your kitty to spend on stuff. So then
Yeah.
it's up to the organization to raise those funds,
Mhm.
and then you also charge fees, but the fees are fairly inexpensive in comparison, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the fees in the US are pretty steep compared to the Swedish fees. If you do the junior 20, which is the most expensive, which makes sense, that's a bit above 10,000 kroners just for the training fee. Then the organization they cover the cost for the bus rides and everything like that. But you also have to pay a bit by yourself, like in terms of sticks and shoulder pads and all of that stuff and
Yeah.
skates.
But
So
if you went
the
to
so
Frölunda, you get your stuff, everything's paid for.
I mean, I can't say that for sure, but yeah, I would assume you get most of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason I'm trying to bring up, there are different kind of um, levels, and it's understandable, and it's just the way it is. But I think that the what's great about J20 region is I think what's difficult in J18 is that your organization, let's say if you advance now to J18 after this season,
Mhm.
you're going to be competing with Frölunda,
Yeah.
and and that's not easy.
No,
Versus,
it's not. You see that every year in that U18 region division. It's split up at Christmas, and
yeah,
then it's divided into two different leagues. But yeah, you can see there's a big difference between the top, let's say, three teams and the bottom three teams in terms of goal differential and points in the league.
yeah.
Uh, for sure.
But I think if you look at the J20 region, it's a fairly equal. Certainly, there's some of the clubs that are bigger. That when you're playing against Halmstad Hammers, as an example,
Yep.
uh, Karlskrona, bigger organizations, bigger rinks, more staff, maybe a little bit of difference there. But the majority of the teams that you're playing against have similar facilities, similar structure, similar amount of coaching. The players are coming from similar places,
Mhm.
and which makes it very competitive.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that which is why those, J20 region, whether it's east, west, south, or north, it's a good competitive place to be
Yeah, I agree.
as well.
100%.
What's your biggest challenges? I mean, so now we're talking about this, and we're in the end of September. We'll release this probably end of October, but um, is your job pretty much done? You got your roster as a general manager. Now it's up to the
Mhm.
coaches, right?
I mean, in the best world, yeah. But yeah, no, it doesn't really work that way. Still have a lot of work to do. In terms of the different teams have different, I wouldn't say problems, but definitely different problems they need to work out. The men's team, they have a good structure surrounding their organization with equipment managers and coaches and all the different staff that you need. The 20 team also they have good staffing around the team, but maybe we need to add a couple more guys on the team to be competitive in our league. So yeah, so different issues that we need to work out. And one big thing, if you compare it to the US, is that a lot of uh, like the people that are engaged in Swedish sports, and if you're obviously if you're not on the SHL level teams, they're there because they want to be there. They volunteer their time. So maybe you can't get 8 days a week out of everybody that comes to the hockey rink. Maybe they can only be there for 2 or 3 days a week, but you have an organization that requires you to be there 5 times a week. So you kind of struggle with that every day, like the commitment that people can make versus how
in,
much they want to make.
in terms of your staff running the
Yeah,
organization, right?
yeah,
Yeah. And I think that, so let's be frank here too. You're early on in your role, year two here, really almost like your first year almost.
yeah. I would definitely say this is my first year doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, you had like a little easy transition in, but now it's yours. And just like if you parallel your professional life in running a team, you're
Mhm.
running a team here athletically as well. And you have a strategy and you have a plan, and it's going to take some time to kind of grow and execute in reality, right?
Yeah, definitely. I have I have I have a long-term plan that I want for the organization that I want. The junior 20 team is we're not looking to like take the next level up to the national level because that's just a whole different story and it costs like in terms of money it's a lot more expensive as well.
Yep.
Um, I would if you start at the junior 18 team, I would love to take them from where they're at right now like because they've been at the bottom half of that league for the past couple of years, but I want to like move them up to be a top tier team at least in the Division 1 league. So the step between the junior 18 and the junior 20 region is not that big.
Yep.
Um, and then I want to establish the 20 team as a top team again, which they have been for a long time, which also successfully kind of it secures the players from a below coming into your men's program as well.
Yep.
Uh, and then if you're looking at maybe, let's say it's a 5 year plan. I have it in my head, it's a 3 to 5 year plan. I want to prepare the organization and I want them to be ready to transition into being and taking the step up to Division 1. If we take that step or not, that's kind of the different part of that equation that I haven't really figured out yet. But in my head, that's the goal that I'm working with a 3 to 5 year plan to prepare the organization to taking that step up to Division 1.
Yeah. And I mean, it's evident, and the buzz and the excitement and the passion that you have, it's about building something. And Mölndal has a good history. When you talk to
Mhm.
people that are in the hockey community around Västergötland, the region down there, is you got a history, and there's good hockey in that region.
Mhm.
And the buzz is, yeah, Marcus is really creating something down there, and you want to find those players and key leaders to be able to say, yeah, I want to join and want to be part of that.
Mhm.
And I want to commend you for what you're doing. It's a lot of hard work, I know, and that's the reason why I wanted to have you on. One, for talking about kind of your journey into from juniors and into college, but really how you're now leveraging that experience and still giving back and really trying to build something down in the Gothenburg region. Um, Last thing, so let's see, how old are you now? You're 20,
27.
27, 10 years younger, 17. What advice would you give to yourself at 17? Things you didn't know then that you know now that you'd like to tell yourself.
Wow. Wow, that's a really good question. One thing that with the whole like US experience thing that I did is that I wouldn't change that for the world, but if I would have done it again, I would have gone out to I would have gone out to the East Coast and played, I think. It would have suited my personality and kind of my lifestyle that I have a bit better compared to being on the Western slope and the lifestyle that they have there. That's definitely one thing that I would recommend myself doing. Um, but 10 years ago, uh, do you have it's a tough one. It's a tough
Yeah.
one.
You're sitting there with yourself at 17 and you're saying, hey, one piece of advice here, not necessarily things you would do differently, but what would it be? You know, you're take you're on your way to Borås, let's say first year going to
Yeah.
gymnasium.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, in easy terms, it would probably be work your ass off.
Yeah.
Sorry, apologize for my language, but yeah, work your ass off.
No, it's a great one.
You don't get that opportunity again to have that support to play hockey that much before you go into working, like no matter kind of where you work or what you do for a living. But being in like high school and playing hockey in Swedish school, like the Swedish system, if you do the NIU, then you have great opportunity to develop a lot as a player. And yeah, so work your ass off is definitely the recommendation that I would make. That I
Awesome.
would, yeah.
Awesome. Well, and I know that you guys already partner with Target Aid. We're doing the same, and we're going to be. I'm assuming. I mean, we have this segment that we say "Klubben I mitt hjärta."
Yeah.
We will be highlighting, but your program there, Mölndal. But I didn't know if it was going to be any other. Is that the team in my heart, Klubben I mitt hjärta? Is that Mölndal now, or is it someone else?
No, I mean Mundal is obviously the organization that my heart beats it beats a little extra for. But I also have Lerums BK from the beginning of my career in the first let's call it 10 years of my hockey career before I moved to Borås,
Yeah.
to thank for a lot. And we were a great group of guys, and we still stay in touch, and we still hang out, and we're still friends today. And a lot of those players that I played with 10 years ago, they still play for the men's team in Division Three in Lerum, which is fantastic. And I was actually there just last season watching a game, and it was like traveling in a time capsule, like going back. It was the same people in the rink to this day. And I haven't met them for a very long time, but it was great to be back there, just meeting everybody.
Well, it's actually the second guy I was just recording. He's not released yet. William Viberg, who's from Lerum, and he said that's the jersey that is up on my wall. He ended up going to Frölunda and then
Yeah,
played in here in the U.S. and he had the same answer. But our initiative with Target Aid, we're going to highlight you guys. We may end up highlighting both of you, Lerum and Mölndal. And push that on through social media for you guys as well. So, Marcus, been a joy. Thank you for coming on the podcast, talking about your journey, and good luck. Now, we're getting ready to start the season here Saturday in J20, and
yeah,
so when this airs, we'll see. You may be sitting there 5-0 by the time
yeah.
this comes. So,
I hope so, and thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
yeah, thank you.